Everyone thinks getting shredded will solve all their problems. You think that you'll feel happy and worthy, but when I hit 9% body fat in my late 20s, something strange happened to me. I didn't feel better, I actually felt worse. More insecure, more obsessed, and constantly chasing more. There's a dark side to this journey that no fitness coach will ever talk about, but today, that's exactly what I'm gonna do. Let's jump right into it. Dark side number one, you're gonna feel empty when you reach your goal. Now, most recently, I watched an Aaron Rodgers documentary on Netflix, and love him or hate him, he said something that really stood out to me that correlates exactly to this point. He said something along the lines of he wanted to win a Super Bowl so badly in his life, and he basically spent his whole life trying to achieve that goal. But then when he did win the Super Bowl, he said something along the lines of, I kind of felt empty. Now, I actually hear this from some of my clients as well. When they get down to their specific body fat and their weight goal, they kind of feel like, okay, I achieved it and I feel good right now. But then a few weeks later, they're almost like, okay, now like, what's next? And you might be thinking, like, how is that the case, right? Like, if you achieve your body fat goal and your dream weight and body, how do you feel empty inside? Well, just think, if you spent your entire life or a good, 3, 5, 8 years of your life trying to achieve that goal, you're going to feel good, of course, right away. But then reality sinks in and you're almost kind of wondering, thinking, what's next? And like, what do we do next? So your big takeaway to try to avoid feeling empty when you reach that, let's say 10 to 15% body fat goal or whatever goal that you specifically have in mind is you always have to set new goals for yourself. Because if you don't, you're going to get this empty feeling. I've had this myself, which I'll share later on in this video. So make sure when you are achieving a goal, you want to have new goals to always achieve and pursue, because if you don't, you're going to feel empty, you feel unmotivated, and you're never going to get that true happiness feeling when accomplishing that goal. Dark side number two, you're always going to want more. Now, this kind of piggybacks off the point I just talked about, but when you reach that specific goal, you're always going to want more that you're trying to achieve. Like when I got to 9% body fat in my late 20s, you think I would have been happy there, but I always was trying to pursue something more. Like I wanted less body fat, I wanted more muscle, I wanted more strength. So in trying to accomplish those things, I was adding more workouts in, spending more time in the gym, counting every single calorie, eating more protein. No matter what I did, it would revolve around trying to get lower percent body fat and adding more muscle. And it actually became obsessive at one point, opposed to having like a healthy relationship with fitness. Now, the older I get and the older I am getting, like I currently just turned 35, you'll realize, maybe if you are this age right now watching this or potentially older, you'll realize whether you're 9, 10, 11, or 12% body fat, it really doesn't make that much of a difference unless you are trying to like compete in some sort of bodybuilding or some sort of prep show. Like, that's a different story. But for us, like normal average guys who just want to like look good, feel good, they have some abs, have some muscle, it doesn't make that much of a difference, guys, whether you're 9 to 12% body fat. And this is where it can get dangerous, because you want to make sure you don't get obsessed about fitness when you achieve your goal. You want to make sure you have a positive relationship with food and working out, and not a negative relationship, because I can tell you firsthand in my life, I did have a negative relationship with it. And I've had many clients as well that got towards their goal, which I talked about, but then they started wanting more and more and more, and you almost go obsessed with it. And that's basically your whole lifestyle. And it just kind of dictates your mood, your personality, and how you're feeling that day, depending on if you did things that got you towards your goal. So your big takeaway here, guys, is try to make sure you have a positive relationship with fitness, because you want to make sure it doesn't spiral out of control. Dark side number three, you get more insecure, not less. Now, I'm going to show you a photo of me in Dominican right here from a few weeks ago. Now, a lot of you look at this photo, you're probably going to think, like, this guy's in pretty good shape, right? Like, you can see his abs, he's got some upper body definition, he definitely takes care of his body. But do you know what I think when I see that photo? I absolutely hate it. And I've never sent it to anyone besides my girlfriend. And you might be thinking, like, why? Like, why do you hate this photo? Do you know what I see in that photo? I see a guy with small pecs, because I've been battling a shoulder injury and I haven't been able to really kind of lift too much upper body. So I see a guy with small pecs, shoulders look smaller, you can't really see my lats, and I see bloated abs from the alcohol and water. Now, you might be thinking, like, this guy's crazy. Like, maybe I am, but that's what I see. And I'm insecure because I have a standard that I've upheld for so many years, and people see me as the fitness guy, right? Let's say you're 20, 25% body fat. you're definitely gonna have your insecurities in your own way. Maybe you're scared to take your shirt off at the beach. Maybe you're just annoyed that extra fat on hanging out. Like whatever it is, you have your own insecurities. But when you get down to like 10, 12% body fat, you have new insecurities, especially when people know you for a certain image. Like I said, people know me for being like 10% body fat, being ripped, having good muscle. And when I see a picture that doesn't really translate to that as much as I want, at least, then I get insecure from those photos. And it just kind of eats me inside because I always want better and better. So, your big takeaway is when you lose body fat and you drop weight, yes, you're going to improve insecurities in some ways, but when you get known for a certain image and you uphold that image for a certain amount of time, you're going to develop new insecurities and it all becomes relative to what people see you as, if that kind of makes sense. Dark side number 4, you'll be terrified to gain the weight back. Now, in our Fit Fusion Brotherhood program, we typically have 3 phases: our stomach shred, our arm assault, and our physique recomp. Most people, when they go through a program, do like all 3 phases. But a couple clients, in this case, like they decided they just want to do phase 1, which is their stomach shred to lose the fat, and they wanted to go and do the program by themselves, which is 100% fine. So they did that. They got a great result. Lost about 20, 25 pounds. And a few months later, like almost like to the day, it was kind of eerie, got messages from these clients. And very similar messages. They said something along the lines of, Rich, I'm terrified of gaining the weight back. So in other words, when they stopped the program, they kind of let their old eating habits kind of creep into it. And they kind of realized they're gaining some of the weight back. And I can really hear the pain and the panic in their voice. Because think of it that way, right? Like you spend so long and you work so hard to achieve that dream body that you wanted, but then you start to see it kind of slipping away and you're trying to do everything you can to hold on to it, and you almost get in a bit of a panic mode. And it's kind of like this, right? Like if you lost a lot of weight, let's say get down to 10 to 12% body fat, but now you're like 13, 14, it's slowly starting to creep up. It's like you buying like a dream house, but then like 2 months later, the bank comes calling saying, hey, like you can't afford that house anymore. We're getting it back unless you start making more money. That's a pretty terrifying feeling, right? And like no one wants to go through that. So your big takeaway here is you're gonna be scared to gain the weight back. So kind of goes back to point number 1. When you do lose the weight and you do get down to your target percent body fat, whether it's like 10, 11, 12%, whatever it may be, goes back to number 1. You always make sure you are setting new goals and you are progressing forward, because the maintenance phase is always more important than the fat loss phase. And we'll talk about that in another video, but just want to give you the dark side of getting shredded for point number 4 here. Dark side number 5, you'll lose joy in the process. Now, I first remember starting my fitness journey like back in 2007, so a long time ago. And for the first like 5 years, like all the way up to 2012, I was like fired up and I absolutely loved working out, and I actually look forward to going to the gym. But after that, you start to lose a little bit of motivation because you do the same thing like over and over again, right? It's kind of like going to a job that you don't necessarily like, but you do it anyways because you got to pay the bills and maybe you got to provide for your family. Well, that's kind of where I was at many times in life, and that's kind of where I'm at right now, because even now with this stage of my life, I have a heart condition where I can't really lift heavy weights. So I'm either changing the routine up or I'm doing the same exercises for the exact same weight because I can't do progressive overload. So the takeaway here is like when you start progressing in your journey, you're definitely going to lose some joy in it. Like it's going to happen for sure. The key is to make it as fun as you can. And for myself, like I could probably do a better job of this at this point in my life and make it more interesting. So what you can do is basically even switch the routine up for every like 4 to 8 weeks, even though it might not be ideal. Like people say, like do the same thing for 12 weeks because you have to get stronger, do the same movements over and over again. But if you're at a point where it's like, 3, 5 years later, and you start to get bored, start thinking those things to keep it fresh and interesting. Because if you burn out, then you're just going to lose motivation and it's hard to sustain that in the long run. I have pretty good discipline, luckily, so I'm going to do it what it takes no matter what. But for some people, they might get bored of it and completely stop, and you're going back to square one. So dark side number 5, you will lose joy in the process, but always make sure you're doing things to keep it interesting and fresh. Dark side number 6, you'll start comparing yourself more to others. Now, I'm actually guilty of this firsthand with my brother Sean, who's my business partner, and you guys see him on the channel videos, usually uploads every Tuesday or Wednesday. The thing is, like, Sean is just naturally bigger than me, and there's nothing I can do to change that. Like, he was born with bigger bones, and obviously the more bone density you have, the bigger bones you have, the more muscle you have to attach the bones. And so no matter how hard I try, there's no way I'm going to add more muscle to Sean because he just has better genetics than me, and there's nothing I can do about that. But sometimes I still catch myself like compare myself to him, but I'm like, why am I comparing myself to Sean when there's nothing I can really change about that opposed to doing my best? Like, even I know Sean, he probably wishes sometimes he gets as lean as me, because for me, it's easy to get lean, but it's harder for me to bulk up. And it's like we say, we always want what we don't have, right? So your big takeaway is like, try not to compare yourself to others because you don't know what others are doing, where they're at, et cetera, et cetera. For example, they might be on steroids. They might be on like HGH. They might be on like testosterone replacement. They might just have freak genetics. Like, you don't know what the other person has gone through. So try not to compare yourself to others, because that's something firsthand when you start to get down, let's say 10 to 50% body fat, and you're in really good shape, you notice other fit guys in the room. Like, maybe you do right now watching this video, but you start to notice that. And typically speaking, our first mind goes at, oh man, this guy's like big arms, or this guy's a big chest. Like, why am I like this? Or, you know what I'm trying to say? So do the best you can to stick to your own vision and try not to compare yourself to other people. Now, I want to say something very important. Getting down to 10 to 50% body fat, dropping weight, drop body fat, adding lean muscle is the best thing that you can do in your life. I just want to give you a bit of the dark side to it, because there is a dark side to it. And I think a lot of us think that, okay, if we reach 10% body fat, it's going to solve all my problems. I'm going to feel like $1,000,000. Well, it's kind of like going poor to rich. Like, when you're rich, it's going to be a better life, of course, for the most part, not necessarily, but you're just going to have like new problems that come along with it compared to when you didn't have money, if that kind of makes sense. Very similar. If you have like 25, 30% body fat, you get down to 10% body fat, you're going to look better, all those things, but you're just going to have new issues that come along with it. So if you like this video, please make sure to like and subscribe. It would mean the world to me. Now, check out this video. I'll actually give you more tactical info on how to get ripped, if that's what you want here. Maybe not after watching this video, but either way, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and please like and subscribe if you did, and let me know in the comments below.